Yo, it's that time. Get ready to unwind with Jillian on the mic. The best you'll find. Pop that cork. Let's start to chat on the PoliWine podcast, where it's all that. Join the crew as we dive into the scene. Current events heated. Know what I mean? Jillian.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on PoliWine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. Well, this past weekend, over 1,000 protests were held nationwide from Minneapolis, Boston, D.C., Philadelphia, San Francisco, and many other cities following the incident last week in Minneapolis, where an ICE officer shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Good. Last week, when we discussed this incident just happened. We had seen some video footage at that time, most of it footage, a couple different angles from witnesses on the scene. We did not see any footage from any of the officers that were filming at that time. Nothing from them had been released. We did not see that angle. Now we have seen that angle. Last week when we discussed it, we didn't really know. We were still trying to get bits and pieces. We were hearing stories that the woman who was shot had just left from dropping off her kid 2 blocks away from school. Could she have been there accidentally? We don't know. Now we know, yes, she was protesting, and she has a right to protest. Absolutely. That is her right to protest. Can you make the argument she shouldn't have been blocking traffic? You can make that argument. I've heard some arguments, because trust me, I've listened to every news outlet and listened to every legal analyst, every law enforcement expert. I've listened to them all. I have heard some say that they felt, in their opinion, that the victim, Renee Good, was obstructing justice because she was blocking the ICE agents that were there to enforce an action. I have heard that argument. I have heard the argument that she should not have fled the scene. I've heard that argument. Sure, you can make that argument. But how can you, I just don't understand how DHS has come out and shortly after this incident, labeled this woman a domestic terrorist, that she was using this vehicle as a weapon, and the agent felt in fear of his life, and he reacted. That is their justification for shooting this woman. At point blank range, I can't wrap my head around that. If you want to make that argument, sure, she shouldn't have fled the scene. Sure, she shouldn't have been in the way, blocking traffic. Some may say obstructing justice, whatever that argument. But she should be able to be alive today and have that argument in court. She should be alive today. She should have been pulled to the side, waited for the local authorities to come, and if they felt that that there was a reason to arrest her, then that's what should have happened. I don't understand how ICE can go to a car and start yanking people out of the car. And this is part of the problem. This is why everyone's getting so upset. They see people, ICE agents, going to cars, breaking windows, yanking people out of the car. How is this right? Where are our several liberties here? And this is why everyone is getting upset. This is why you see protesters. This is why you see everybody vocalizing their freedom of speech. This is why they're protesting. And please, please, if you are going to protest, please protest peacefully. Please use your voice. You are allowed to express your thoughts. You can video film, but do not, please do not give any authority any reason to say that, to cause to say that they feel threatened or they feel in defense. Please give them space. Don't throw anything. Be respectful. Protest peacefully. Do not give the authorities any reason to react, to respond. Don't give into it. Please don't. I know everybody feels the protesters, and I think just many as a whole in our nation feel very upset by what we're seeing, what we're witnessing on the streets, in the news, seeing people being pulled off the street, pulled out of parking lots, doors being broken down and people being yanked from the privacy of their home without a warrant. This is not the America I know. Again, where are our rights, our civil liberties? It just seems like they are just being stripped away in a very rapid fashion, and it's really hard to watch. And this is why everyone feels so heated and emotional, and that's why they're protesting. Kristi Noem, I'm having a really hard with your justification of these actions. For the first time I heard you say it, to the second time I heard you say it on the interview with Jake Tapper on the State of the Union. Yeah, I watched it. I know how this administration feels about CNN. So, of course, I wanted to watch this interview with Kristi Noem and Jake Tapper because I felt that Jake Tapper would come prepared with the questions, and he did. It was a very good interview. And Kristi Noem, man, you know how to stick to a script. You absolutely did. You doubled down. You still called this woman a domestic terrorist. Very hard to take that one. You said that you felt that the agent's actions were justified and lawful, and he felt threatened. And you talked about how you gave a little background on this officer. He was a veteran officer, had many years behind, and also said that he had an incident a while back where he was hit by a car. It just seems like there are many violations in this protocol here. I don't know the protocol of ICE, but hearing many law enforcement experts that I've seen being interviewed, all of them have pretty much said that what happened here is definitely not protocol and not part of training for any officer. You don't stand in front of a vehicle, stand off to the side. Because basically standing in front of the vehicle gives you an argument if anybody moves that vehicle becomes a weapon. So you're automatically putting yourself in a very precarious situation. So that's a no-no. And there is no justification for shot 2 and 3 to shoot a woman from the side. And there's really no justification. This is what a lot of these experts were saying on shooting a woman driving away in a car at all. So it sounds like there are so many violations of protocol, standards, procedures. And here's the thing. Of course, the local and state officials want an independent investigation to see what went wrong, any violations on the officer, if there was anything on the wrong of the victim. But mostly they want an independent investigation to see if there's any wrongdoing on the officer, because it seems to everyone this is just an extreme misuse of force. And this woman should be alive today, because right now what we know is there are young children and a spouse that do not have their mother and wife anymore. And this is just a tragedy all the way around. And you see this video, you see the video, and you see the woman. I'm not mad at you. And a second later, she is gone. Does that look like a domestic terrorist to you? I'm not mad at you. 2 visible hands. How does she seem a threat? Okay, but what if you do feel that there's an argument that there's wrongdoing on her part? She should be alive today in a court. There is no justification why this woman is not here today, in my opinion. And I really hope that there is some legal fallout from it. But there needs to be an independent investigation. And it's not shocking, but yes, it is really discouraging that we talked about the other week that the administration said, look, this is a federal agency, so we will do our own investigation into this and see if there's any wrongdoing here. And that's not really reassuring, now is it? Because if the Secretary of DHS has already come out and said that she feels that these actions are justified, well, that's quite telling, isn't it? And of course, Trump, he's voiced his opinion, and it definitely seems that there's going to be no accountability on the agency's action. The woman is not alive today for her to be accountable for her actions. And right now, what we know is that several prosecutors from Minnesota have stepped down because they have felt pressure to probe, to some type of investigation on the victim and the widow of the victim of this incident. So just a terrible, terrible situation that only seemed to be compounding. And it's terrible, but I do hope something comes out of it. It has to happen here, but it does make you feel that that accountability is going to fall very, very short, because how can this agency do its own investigation and basically be its own judge and jury? And what we know is that the institution will always protect the institution. So are we ever going to see anything come out of it? I am truly doubtful that we will ever see anything. And this is going to lead me into my next topic here. And that is, this past weekend, watching these protests, hearing on all the news outlet, this conversation about the defense of DHS, basically defending and sticking up for the actions of the ICE agents on the scene here in Minneapolis, and their egregious actions of some of the agents across the nation. And watching this, I stumbled across a documentary on HBO Max called Critical Incident. And I am kind of glad that I did stumble across this documentary because it was very eye-opening. And in this documentary, Critical Incident, the similarities of this subject parallels this incident that happened in Minneapolis so closely. And in this documentary, it starts off with a story of this gentleman that was held by Border Patrol in the San Diego Mexican border in 2010. And while in custody, he was severely beaten, sent to the hospital, and later died from his injuries. And anybody who saw this man and saw his injuries, they're like, oh, there is no way these injuries align with the statement given by the officers involved on the scene. And of course, when local authorities show up to do the investigation, they're like, when we showed up, there was no evidence to collect. There was nothing on the scene. There was nothing to investigate. So we took statements, and all we had to go on were the statements of the officers on the scene. There was no video cameras. Some way, somehow, all the video footage on the border, the California-Mexican border, all the cameras were not working. The video footage was of low quality, so you couldn't really get any details, and there was no other footage, so therefore it was only the statements of the officers to go on. There was nothing. And there was a lot of protests that followed this. There needed to be accountability, and really nothing had happened in a long time. Just, it was kind of at a standstill in the legal system. Nothing happened. Well, this investigative journalist, very hardworking and an incredible journalist. This is why it is so key to have our press. They keep our guardrails on the system, such as checks and balances. But this investigative journalist reported on this story and multiple other stories with Border Patrol. That's pretty much what he did, was stories on Border Patrol. And he ended up working with a woman who did work with people in the community that were doing work against some of the actions of Border Control. This woman who was a former Border Patrol agent was helping the journalist get a little bit of information about this case here in 2010. I really suggest that you go watch this documentary. So good. And why is there no accountability in this case, in some other cases? And why was there no footage? Why is there nothing? Well, come to find out, doing all the investigative work, there actually was some other footage. Some witnesses that were there on the border were taking cell phone footage, and they had it, and they were in fear to release this footage for any type of retribution, to come after them or anything, understandably so. But after time and persuasion, this investigative journalist got the footage, and they saw this man savagely beaten by the agents. The officers there trying, anybody who's walking by, witnesses, passerby, don't look at this, turn your head, don't take camera footage of this, deleting footage from other cell phone cameras of witnesses filming it. Oh yeah, all this came out from other footage from witnesses. And doing more of the investigative work, they also discovered that in Border Patrol, there is this undercover, if you will, off the books unit called the Critical Incident Team, CIT. And this team is deployed immediately if there is any incident involving any officer in Customs and Border Control, right? And this unit goes in and investigates it, takes statements, evidence, you name it, like any investigative team would do, correct? They collect the evidence, they get the statements, all of that. Well, no one knows about this unit. And the journalist and this former Border Patrol agent who's now working behind the scenes with this journalist, they need to know what this CIT unit is. And can we get some information? How do we see any of the reports from previous investigation? Do they have anything on this particular incident of this case in 2010? They could not get anything. It was stonewalled. Finally, they saw this CIT unit mentioned twice in legal action, and it was very hard. They still couldn't get anything when they called some people in Border Patrol, and they asked, "What is this CIT unit?" Some had no idea what they were talking about. They were completely unaware of this unit, and others, when questioned, immediately hung up and were like, I don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, when journalists are doing the hard work, especially with a lot of these kind of undercover units, it takes the courage of a whistleblower to leak information and get it out there. And of course, in this situation, it took the bravery of a whistleblower, and they leaked some of the evidence and some of the photos and the videos from the investigations of this, let's say, off the books, no budget, block ops unit, CIT. And to see the footage, photos, and some of the testimony that came out of some of the investigations from the CIT unit, it was jaw-dropping. It was infuriating, and I cannot believe that these people get away with it. And a lot of them are protected under immunity and because of their job. And I'm telling you, it was very discouraging and disheartening. And when I was watching this documentary, I was thinking about this incident that just happened in Minneapolis with Renee Good and the ICE agent. And now that it's going to be only a federal investigation, and the state and local departments and agencies will be completely left out of it, and there will not be an independent investigation. It made me think of that. It's just another injustice that we see happening in front of us. And we're being told what you saw is not what just happened. You didn't hear what you just heard. And it's so frustrating. This is why people are getting heated and they feel the need to go out and protest. So if you're going to, please protest peacefully, please, please. But I understand why everyone's upset. I get it. I get it. But I'm telling you, go watch that documentary on HBO Max called Critical Incident. It just came out right at the end of 2025. But I'm actually glad that I stumbled across it this weekend, because I'm telling you, it hit so close to this incident last week. And as these protests are happening, where will this go? And will the needle move with an independent investigation? And there has been statements from some in Congress calling out that they want to have an investigation on Kristi Noem, and there's been calls for her impeachment. So where will that go with Kristi Noem? But I definitely think there's going to be fallout from it. Will she survive this fallout? Because she's not budging on her explanation on what happened. And are we shocked by this? Let me just remind you that this is the woman that openly admitted in her book that she shot a puppy named Cricket because she didn't think he was trainable. So please, I beg anyone that does any investigation into Kristi Noem, please name it Operation Cricket. Okay? Please name it Operation Cricket. This is a woman who was unfazed by shooting a puppy. So I don't think we're really going to get a reaction here. My opinion, but this is very, very difficult to watch. And will there be any action in Minneapolis against the widow? We just found out that 6 prosecutors in Minneapolis just stepped down because they felt pressured to probe the spouse. And I said this last week. If we are always told by the legal system, no one is above the law, it just feels like that statement no longer holds true, because some do seem to be above the law. And this is where we are. What happened to us? Go watch that documentary, HBO Max, Critical Incident. I'm telling you, I was sitting there watching it in the wee hours of the morning, like folding laundry, and I'm sure my jaw was on the floor. I'm like, this is a lot to take. And with a lack of independent investigation, I'm telling you, go watch it. Congress, we need you right now. We need you to go in and please enforce these guardrails that we need to protect the American people and also our agencies. And I still have the question, why no body cameras? Why no body cameras? To protect the individuals and to protect the agents. But we need these checks and balances. Plus, we still do not know what's going on in Venezuela. We still don't have a clear picture of what's going on with Greenland. That is still a major conversation within the administration. There is now talks about going in to protect the protesters in Iran. We are all over the place. And I got to tell you, Congress doesn't really know what's going on. They're being left out of the loop. The general public does not know what's going on. And we're finding out, all of us together, very uncomfortable position to be in. We need transparency. We need to be more informed. The administration saying they're being very transparent, but when Congress is being left out of approval and action, doesn't seem very transparent to me. So Congress, We need you. We need you now. It's a turbulent time in politics right now. It is ever changing and fast moving. So, brace yourselves. Okay. It's a lot to take in for everyone. No question. And I say all the time, I used to make fun of news outlets and CNN, especially you, because everything was breaking news, breaking news. I'm like, how can you call a story breaking news when it happened 2 days ago? It's not breaking news. It's still current news, but it's not breaking news. Now every time when I have the news on, which is all the time, you hear on every channel, breaking news, and it is breaking news. That's how much is coming in all the time. So it's a lot to digest all at once. So we need to slow it down. We need to take some micro bites now because we're all feeling anxious over everything happening all at once. So let's breathe. Now, let's move in to some happier conversation, and that's our world of entertainment. Yes. Can we get over to something else? Let's get into Peacock, and that is because we were gifted season 4 of The Traitors. Did you watch the first 3 episodes that dropped on Peacock? Did I? I absolutely did. Couldn't wait. Alan Cummings, love you. And you get better every season. You get a little bit more comfortable. I was waiting for your dog. I love a dog. The unsung hero of the show seals it every time. I love your outfits. I love your hair. But the thing that I love about Alan Cummings the most is his quick wit and his sarcasm. And he's so perfect. And he's just so on. So anytime one of the contestants will make a comment that's off the cuff or just outrageous, he just nails it every time with his comeback and his wit. So I got to tell you, sarcasm and wit is how I show my affection. That's how I hug. And I think the Scottish and the Irish do that very well. And Alan Cummings does it like no one else. And it just cracks me up. Just some of the things that he said that was just off the cuff and just impromptu. So funny. Your outfits, that orange ruffle piece, you were giving me full bird of paradise. I think it's a very strong cast this season. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, turn the volume down now. I'm going to give you a few names. Yes, we eliminated 2 of the gamers. We also had one of our favorites banished, and I can't believe it. Very, very upsetting. Yes, and there was a twist this season. We had a secret traitor. Yes, and I actually liked the secret traitor idea. I thought it was a cool twist. Did I go down the rabbit hole this weekend of people's opinions online and on Reddit of what they thought of the secret traitor? I absolutely did. I couldn't help it. I love hearing what people's thoughts were. I did like the secret traitor. I thought the predictable with who they chose as a traitor, Alabama Rob, I think you are great this season. Under the radar, I'm telling you, didn't think he was as sneaky and to play the game as well as he is. And I gotta say, well chosen. I think everybody kind of thought that he would be the Loof, from Love Island. He is killing it right now. He really, really is. Liking him. But everybody had an opinion about the secret traitor because it was the Travis and Jason Kelsey's mom, the Kelsey mom. And everybody thought it should have been a gamer. That was the secret traitor. I do agree with that. I think it should have been a gamer. They would have played the game longer, kind of been the counterbalance to the other traitors because they didn't know who the secret traitor was. And it kind of worked against them sometimes when they went to vote someone off, murder them. It worked against their plan sometimes. So I like that. But I think it would have been better to have a gamer. So far, we've already had 2 gamers murdered, eliminated, and Portia was banished. I love Portia. Portia's funny. Candace, yes, Candace, I think you did have a little bit of something to do with that. You slipped up and you couldn't recover, and you ended up throwing Portia under the bus. In my opinion, I think Portia should have gone longer. She would have been a great addition because she's funny. Everybody really liked her. She gives some silliness, great fashion. She's beautiful. And she's a housewife, and I think she would have played the game really well. So traitors so far, first 3 episodes, 2 thumbs up, love it, and I can't wait to watch more. So go on Peacock Thursday nights, watch season 4 of The Traitors, and who is next to be banished and who is to be murdered, and what twist will they add throughout the season. I can't wait to see it, but I am really enjoying the cast. Let's get over to our world of Bravo. Okay, our housewives. Potomac, I am struggling to watch you this season, but I have to say, Angel, your house in Colorado was absolutely gorgeous. But having the housewives split into 2 houses and like 35 minutes away in the middle of nowhere, it's a choice. Definitely a choice. I don't think that worked out well. And your standoffish didn't come off very inviting. Your display at the party, Angel, beautiful. Like the setting, the grills, the oxygen bar, the cocktail ball, amazing, beautifully executed. The food looks so yummy. I do agree with Giselle. Why are we an acre away from everybody else? But what was up with the guests there? Those men that Angel was introducing, like the financial guy and the guy that was part of the business. Okay, it's nice that you had other friends there at the party, but rude. It was very obvious that he had been shit talking those housewives to your guests before the housewives arrived, and it was obvious. You could feel it. It was so heavy in the air, awkward, to say the least. And we've seen other parties on the other housewives shows where there's guests that don't know the housewives, and they interact and mingle with the scene and party as well. And I got to tell you, sometimes the guest reactions, because they're not used to these whole housewife dinners, is really the best part of the dinners, to see their reaction, like how shocked they are, how poorly these housewives behave. That's part of the recipe. That's what's in the secret sauce, is the reactions. Okay. Love that. So I didn't like that they were so far apart. It felt very disjointed from the housewives being separate, from them being separated at the dinner party and their living arrangements. But the house where the other housewives were at that didn't have running water, and Giselle saying that she was bent over at one point, splashing water on herself to clean herself, saying, "This is my life right now." I'm sorry, I lost it. I was laughing hysterically. I was like, this is so bad. You are never going to live this down, Angel. If you make it to another season, it's truly questionable. But if you make it, you will never live this down. Never. Never. Okay, Beverly Hills, please. I need you to step it up. This is also a tough season, and I love you. Rachel Zoe, I'm still enjoying her. I know she's getting a mixed review online that I've seen. I'm enjoying her. The new girl, Amanda, they're all going in. The claws are out. The ladies, Amanda, you've exposed too much of yourself already, and it's not really believable, and the women are turning on you. They see an opportunity to pounce. It is a full-on mob mentality, and ting, 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 the claws are out, and they are ready to attack. So, Amanda, watch out. They are coming for you. But can we please talk? Everyone, get ready this week. We are having the reunion on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Part 1 airs this week. Are they going to immediately get into Mary and the documentary on TLC? Are we going to start talking about the marriages between Whitney and her husband, Justin? That comes out. What are we going to start talking about? Meredith? It's going to be interesting to see. It's a lot to go through. And what are we going to see in episode 1 of the reunion? Is Heather Gay going to make it through another season? Because I'm going to tell you, I am really having a hard time with her season. She's coming after everyone. She's coming after Lisa. She's coming after Meredith. She's coming after everyone. And why is nobody going after her? Because she's creating these windstorms and of mess. And she just gets to walk away. You don't get to drop a bomb, be mean to everyone, and create a storm and then walk away going, why are you walking away? Then walk away, but don't walk away. This is last week in Greece when she was drunkenly manhandling Meredith. As Meredith's like, I'm getting an Uber and I'm leaving. She's like, do it. Go ahead and do it. A mess, Heather, a mess. And again, I don't care that you were drinking. You need something to get through handling this group of women, I'm sure. But you looked messy and mean last episode and quite a few times in the last several seasons. So what are we going to see? Part 1 of the reunion, but there will be 3 parts in the reunion of Salt Lake City. So let's watch it. And I also want to talk about the Valley Persian style that dropped last week, but we're going to have to get into that on the next episode. And I want to talk about some of these crazy court cases that are coming out in the news. So we're going to get into that on the next episode, but that is it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on Instagram at PoliWine Time. Follow us on PoliWine at TikTok, and please listen to PoliWine wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.